Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
If we live in this sterile environment of expectations from content, from our culture, from what we think we're comparing ourselves to in someone that is quote unquote great at hospitality, you will always fail. And so we just need to live in a space of, you know what, I'm just going to be authentically me. And if I show up as me, I'm not going to fail at that. I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to let God do the rest. And I'm just going to rest in that. That is where true success in hospitality is found.
Y'all know that they're just those people you fall in love with easy. You've heard me say it before about some guests. This one, it was real quick because screen came on, girlfriend looked right at me and then started putting her makeup on. I was like, I love you so much. This is Abby Kuykendall. And, she's already going to be one of my besties. I've already decided. She is the author of a brand new book called Let the Biscuits Burn. If that's not one of the best titles you have heard in a while, I mean, that's incredible. This is the AllMomDoes podcast. I'm your host, Julie Lyles Carr, and we're here to come alongside you in all kinds of seasons of life. Today, we're going to talk about something that might give you high anxiety. And yet we want to figure out some ways in which to make it possible. And Abby is going to lead us along the way. Abby, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It is a real life thing at 12, what time it is, 1:15.
Wherever we're at.
I'm like putting my makeup on. This is real life we're living.
I love it because you know what? On this topic, we're going to talk about, I just got to watch you live out in a little micro moment, exactly your point. We're going to talk about, drum roll, hospitality. Abby, I've got to tell you, I have had seasons I have loved having the peoples over to my house. And I have had seasons where I've thought, if anyone walks in that door, not only will they probably be some phone calls to government officials, but I will live in shame for the rest of my life. You are currently living in a situation in which you are having to rehab a house that had a flood. So you've got people in and out trying to fix all the things and on and on and on. So let's rewind to the mom who's like, you just said hospitality. That is a 4-letter word to me. Let's just back up. We're going to talk about ways in which hospitality can become a natural, easy, and a lot more fun way of life for you. So Abby, what is it about hospitality that you thought, I want to take this giant fear and let's just pull it out there and let everybody look at it. What is it about hospitality for you that is important today?
Yeah, I think that for me, it's that hospitality connects people, and it's the easiest way to connect people.
Mm-hmm.
And that is truly why the Lord, I think, gifted us with hospitality. Not that it's a spiritual gift for some and not for others, but I think that it's a discipline that He wants us to partake in. And when we do, there's just so much blessing and so much just wonder that we get to experience with people. And I think that, especially as I've transitioned from, I spent 15 years after college as a single, and then going into, I was married for only like a year and a couple of days before I had my first. And so I went quickly from singlehood to being just a wife to now I'm a wife and a mom, and I have all of these different plates in the air, and I'm trying to still show hospitality. And it's like, I don't know. I don't want to, I don't know how to, this is overwhelming to me. But then when I do find space for it, it's just such a blessing. And so I wrote the book because I want people to experience the blessing of connection like I have.
I think for me, as I look back over the tenure of my time being supposedly, it says on my driver's license, I'm a grown-up. I mean, that can be debated, but in my tenure at this adult thing, I've had lots of weird seasons about hospitality. And one of them was I was coming from a generation in which, I have all the china and all the crystal and all the things you only break out once a year and all the linens and all the things. And that's how you do hospitality. It is trying to recreate the court of Louis XIV in your tiny little dining room on your teeny tiny little budget and bust out all the stuff. I've also seen the flip side of it. And I'm going to be curious too, for a generation of women who are coming into adulthood, marriage, motherhood, who ended out their teenage college years under quarantine during COVID, where you couldn't
Mm.
really have, if you will, a certain level of hospitality. And how do you onboard some of those skills? How do you define hospitality today? Because I have to say, in all of that arc, I've seen a whole lot of different iterations of it.
Yeah.
And I think often we're looking for the right way to do it, but maybe we just need to start with a good base definition of what it even is.
Yeah. So the way that I define it in the book is that hospitality is selfless. It is giving of yourself to love someone else. I even go as far to say I think that, in true essence of love, um, that hospitality is just the way that we show love. And I think that that is a bit of a new definition for people that have grown up in church and grown up hearing that, oh, hospitality is the greeting team and hospitality is the food team, that it's actually just how we serve and love others. And it's a mindset and a heart position. Where on the flip side, I think our culture has kind of commandeered the word and they have been like, no, hospitality is entertaining. And entertaining is more of a selfish, more of a inward focused, I want to impress other people. Like, why are you actually doing this? And I think that, not that there's anything wrong with all of the details and the elaborate dinner parties that our grandparents or our great-grandparents threw, but, I do think that there is a part of connection that happens in hospitality that is vulnerable and authentic, and we need to try to capture that, and in order to do it, we have to kind of throw off this, like, air of perfection or this pressure to perform, and we have to step into a space that might feel uncomfortable for some, but it is so rewarding when you get to the other side because when you make yourself available to authenticity and to like putting on your makeup when you first meet somebody, um, it opens up kind of the doors of like, hey, this is who I am. Like, let's just be real with each other. And I think that, you mentioned Gen Z, Gen Alpha coming up. And I think that it will be really interesting to see how they experience and show hospitality because they are actually a generation that is wanting to disconnect from social media a little bit more. We're seeing that they actually want to like face it like what does that mean? So they're actually wanting to be more emotionally triggered by people, and whereas I feel like millennials and maybe a little bit of Gen X have been so inundated with this social media just influx of content culture that we have had to absorb over the last 15 years.
Right, right. I do think it'll be fascinating to see if a younger generation really rediscovers the art of this
Yeah.
thing. And I think if they do, that's an incredible thing. I know for myself, there were times in raising a bunch of kids and on and on and on, because that distinguishment that you make between entertaining and hospitality, I really appreciate, because in my mind, it's all been the same thing, like the same level of, and many times production and on and on. And it's not that I don't know how to run in and grab something out of the freezer and make it work, but man, there's that performance quality sometimes that pops up. And I think we get it from a lot of places, Abby. I mean, I've said this before on the podcast for somebody who's listened to a lot of episodes. I'm sure that you've heard me say this, but when I started in as a wife and a young mom, I got Southern Living once a month. And for wives and moms today, for couples today who want to make hospitality a part of their priority for their home, it's in front of you all the time. The
Right.
most unbelievable weddings and wedding receptions, the most unbelievable charcuterie boards, the most unbelievable. And it puts a pressure on. Man, I know that my mom and my mother-in-law felt a lot of pressure to come up with the perfect Jello salad during their
Yeah.
hospitality entertainment days. But I think there is a standard now that really can be mind-blowing and can be quite a hurdle for budgets and
Yeah.
realistic, average 3-bedroom house. How do we overcome the sense that we don't have enough? We aren't enough. We aren't
Yeah.
production worthy level enough in order to open up our homes.
Yeah, I think you have to get to the point, like, you have to get to the point in your own life where you're throwing off expectations.
Hmm.
And I think that, my mom, my grandmother generation, there was an expectation from the generation above them that they have to have a home a certain way. They have to have Sunday lunch a certain way. They have to have a dinner party or a birthday or a shower or what. It has to be a certain way. I'm currently walking through a lot of his. I call them historical. They're historical to my family, 3 or 4 generations old. My grandmother is 93. And so I'm just trying to document some of the things that she has in her home so that, we know about them. And
Right.
she has been telling me about, like, well, this was the centerpiece for all of the showers, and we had to have specific. And it's just so fascinating to me that there were so many pressures. We think, oh, it must have been so much easier without social media. But they had so many pressures from not only their family, but from their community. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
their close-knit, like, I'm not traveling community, like, their street, their
Right.
town
Right.
community. And especially if you lived in small town Arkansas, like, where everyone knew everybody and you were the town news, if you didn't have a certain centerpiece at a baby shower. And so I think that, when we look at the expectations put on us, whether that's from our parents, our grandparents, the people in our community, or it's expectations put on us from social media or content that we're consuming, that is what is going to keep us from entering into a space of hospitality where we can really enjoy coming together with other people in a vulnerable and authentic way. And so if you can, it's a mental game first. And I talk about that. That's probably one of the first chapters in the book after we kind of get through the theology of and the why behind hospitality. It's like, how do we start this? It's like, well, anytime you do anything, you have to prepare your heart. And preparing your heart, preparing your mind, a lot of that is throwing off these expectations and throwing off these cultural pressures of it has to look perfect, because I want this book to be the permission slip that every woman needs, that they don't have to have it perfect, that it doesn't have to be all together. Last night, we had a big party for the book, and we had croissants and jams and stuff, and I forgot the butter. Like, who forgets butter for a croissant? Like, and I had gotten, like, the really nice 8-ounce block of Kerrygold, and, I had the pretty china plate to put it on, but did I have the butter? No. And I almost had my husband drive 20 minutes to go get the butter, and then I was like, "No, the butter doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
people that are here." And so, like, even I mean, people can look at me and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're such a hospitality guru and you're so good at it." And it's like, today I'm like, I had, it was a big party for me. And so I was like, this morning I was like, I've been hit by a bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, it happens to all of us. And, like, if we live in this sterile environment of expectations from content, from our culture, from what we think we're comparing ourselves to in someone that is quote unquote great at hospitality, you will always fail.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and so we just need to live in a space of, you know what, I'm just going to be authentically me. And if I show up as me, I'm not going to fail at that. Like,
Right.
I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to let God do the rest. And I'm just going to rest in that. That is where true success and hospitality is found.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Abby, I'm sure there are those people who feel like, oh, well, if you're an extrovert, hospitality
Oh,
is for
yeah.
you. Like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I'm an introvert, or I'm really nervous about my house. And it's not that I don't think the house is clean enough. It's
Or
that
I'm in an apartment,
right,
or
right.
yeah.
So, how do we overcome some of those objections with understanding the ways in which God is asking us to be in community, and how some of
Mm.
the ideal places for that community to happen are the places where we lay our head at night, to be vulnerable in that way, to allow people in? Because I do have people in my world who are exceptional hosts. They really
Yeah.
are. And they thrive in that space, and they thrive at it at a big level. But I also have people that the notion of opening that door fills them with such anxiety, not necessarily because they're trying to do something Pinterest worthy, not necessarily because they've seen ideations of this modeled in ways they don't feel like they can achieve, but
Mm.
simply because that level of opening up, being social, being at the whims of when that last guest is going to finally leave. Like that fills them with an existential sense of dread.
Yeah.
So, how do we modify for the ways that God has uniquely knit each of us together when it comes to this spectrum of what hospitality can look like?
Yeah, I think that it's going back to comparison. We've got to stop comparing ourselves, but also you have to remember that God didn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called.
Hmm.
And it is a directive in scripture that we show hospitality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is, I mean, from the very beginning in Genesis to all the way to Revelation, we see it almost in every chapter or every book of the Bible, that hospitality and welcoming people in, and God setting a table, with a chair with our name on it. Like, he is always welcoming us and inviting us into experience. Like, he is the hospitable God. And we see that throughout scripture. And so if it's a directive, if it's telling us, okay, I need you to practice hospitality. It's not saying I need you to practice hospitality if you're, a savant when it comes to decor, or if you are, Ina Gardner when you are in the kitchen. No, no, no. It's not saying that. It's saying I just need you to practice it. And if I this is a horrible example because like I'm not athletic and I don't work out or run. But if I was only called to run if I was going to beat Usain Bolt
Yeah.
in the Olympics, I would never run. Like,
Right.
there is
Right.
no way I will ever beat that man. But that's not what exercise is about. Exercise is about just like, hey, get out there and run and have fun. I don't care if you're slow, just run. And so I think in the same way, like, think about hospitality that way. Like, it's not about trying to be Martha Stewart or trying to, I don't know, Meghan Markle has a new show out. It's not trying to like do everything like Meghan, like, no, just do it like Julie, do it like Abby, like, do it like yourself, and rest in that. I do know I feel the introverts hard though.
Yeah.
Like,
You can feel them
my
shudder. Yeah.
my home is my haven. I
Mhm.
don't need anyone in it. I love vegging on the couch more than anything else in the world, and I love being at home with my husband every single night because I'm a newlywed. Like,
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
doing this for 2 years. Like, I
Yeah.
don't need like, there are moments where I need friends, but, like, I get my fill and then I'm, like, back home, and that isn't that is also not what God has called us to do.
Right.
God has called us to fill our lives with people and to share our lives with people. And so I feel the introverts. I feel you so hard in that. Extroverts, you guys, you love people. This is probably not a new concept for you about bringing people together. But if it is a new concept for you, bringing people in to your home, because a lot of times extroverts, they, tend to want everything perfect, and they tend to like over and go above and beyond everything. And so temper that a little bit, focus on the people. But I don't want to leave the introverts in the background because I sit there in that chair with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I traffic in this space that, there's a word for called ambivert, which is I really do genuinely love people. I love having people over. I enjoy hosting all of that stuff, but then I need everybody to leave.
Yeah. You
Mm.
know what? There is a healthy end time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that is something that I have learned about myself as well, is like, hey, if I'm going to have a party, I'm going to need you to know that 8:30 is the time where I will be ushering you to your car. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is the end time, so you can come whenever, but you will be asked to leave at
R-
8:30.
But
And
yeah.
saying that with the best intent. Like,
Right.
we need boundaries. Physical,
Yes.
spiritual,
Yes.
emotional boundaries are so healthy. And so, like, don't I have a whole chapter about it. Like, don't be hesitant, don't be nervous, don't be anxious about setting those emotional, physical, spiritual boundaries for people in your home. Like,
Right.
that is a healthy way to operate. And especially if you're getting into this whole hospitality journey and trying to figure out what your rhythm is with it, like, it's okay to say, hey, would you like to come over from 2 to 4 today? I have to do something at 4. So, but I would love for you to come over and we will do this, this, and this. And then it's like, oh, That is so easy. I know exactly what to expect. I know exactly what we're going to be talking about or exactly what we're going to be doing. And that makes everyone feel a lot more at ease.
I love that because sometimes I think that we can interpret hospitality as no boundaries, complete interruption, someone staying at the house so late, so late, so late. We had a friend several years ago who he was not known for his gentle ways, but I loved they were so gracious to host a Bible study we were having in their home every week. But I can tell you, Abby, 8:30 that man would disappear for 5 minutes. He'd come back out in his pajamas and would say,
I love
"All
it.
right, love y'all."
Bye.
Bye. But
I
it
love
was
it.
great. I mean, and I've often felt that I just didn't have the confidence a lot of times to
Yeah.
say, and in my desire to want to be hospitable. Well, can you tell people it's time to leave? Like, are you allowed to do that? Can
Yeah.
you? And I love that you bring up that we can have boundaries within hospitality,
Yeah, for
rooms
sure.
people aren't supposed to go into or whatever. It doesn't mean we just throw it all wide and let people stomp around. I think that's really helpful. And there's going to be a collective sigh of relief from some people who are like, "Whew, I just don't know if I can do this." I
Yeah, for
really
sure.
appreciate you doubling down on the boundary
Yeah.
part of it. I think it's really good.
Love a good, you know what? And it's really, my husband is more of an introvert than I am. And his boundaries have helped me identify, oh, boundaries are healthy.
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay. So he has been the boundary to my hospitality of like, hey, I would really not to do this 5 times this week. Can we do it 1 time this month? And when we do it this month, they need to leave by whatever. Or
Right.
I would like to have lasagna. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. I will make lasagna.
You think that you are in the final round of getting all this parenting done. You've got kids who are in high school, you're starting to think about college, and you're thinking, this is it. I'm Julie Lyles Carr. I'm a podcaster and I'm a mom of 8. And here's what I want you to know about George Fox University. It's a different way of doing college. Why? Because yes, it's all about getting a fantastic degree to set your kid up for their future. They have 60 undergrad programs available at George Fox University. But that's not where the story ends. It's also about equipping them spiritually. If you get out of college with a degree, but you don't have a closer relationship with God, that obviously is going to deeply impact what your young adult life looks like. So for your kiddos, I want you to consider, what would it mean for your child to be able to go to George Fox University, where 93% of George Fox students say they now have a closer relationship with Jesus? George Fox University is located in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. They have 23 Division III athletic programs, and 100% of students at George Fox University receive financial aid. George Fox University is dedicated to their promise. They want every student to be known for who God created them to be. So listen, parents, yeah, you are getting into some of those final laps, but you definitely want to make these last laps count in a big way when it comes to the legacy of your parenting. So be sure and check out for your student, georgefox.edu. That's georgefox.edu. Talk to me about that place too, though, with a spouse, because one of the things, my husband's an extrovert's extrovert. Yeah, I mean, he
I
is
love
the
it.
guy. He is an extrovert's extrovert. He would have people over 24/7. But one thing that we often grappled with is in his extroversion, in my ambiversion, and in the part, there are 8 kids involved in the middle of this. There would be a time where he would say, I want to have a bunch of people over. And I would say, I do not have the energy to put that together. And I'm
Mm,
looking at your work calendar and you're going to be out the door and gone for the next however many days.
yeah.
How do you navigate that mental load, the actual
Mm,
task list, et cetera? Because I think for some of us who are also juggling kids and juggling homeschool and juggling jobs
yeah.
and juggling volunteer
It's a
positions,
lot.
I mean, traditionally, a lot of hospitality has fallen on the shoulders of women.
Yeah.
And I do have women in my world who are like, look, I'd be happy to have some people over, but I am not carrying that torch alone. Like this.
Yeah.
And if my spouse can't help, then I guess we're not doing it because
Right.
I'm not going to add one more thing to my already full plate. how do you navigate that relationship wise
Yeah.
with the other inhabitants of your house, your roommates or your kids or your husband or whatever?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question because it really, for me, it falls in the preparation and that we have to look at our calendars. When you get really good at hospitality and you get really good at the conversation between you and whomever, then it can kind of happen spontaneously. But when you are new to this, when you're starting out, I mean, me and my husband are still 2 years into this and we're still operating like this, but we pull out the calendar and we're like, this month, these are our hospitality moments. These are our rhythms. So I have way more rhythms than he does because I am a stay at home mom. I do all the things in the house. And so I can usually break away for a lunch or a coffee or a walk or a park date. But sometimes it's like, hey, we need to like connect our schedules because, like you said, like we are both operating in different like lanes right now. Like you're going one way, I'm going the other. What does our hospitality rhythm look like this month? And so when you set that up at the beginning, and we actually have our conversation the middle, so we had it in the middle of September for the month of October. So we're operating
Yeah.
about 6 weeks out and we're saying, okay, for the month of October, this is what we have planned. Usually about this time, SEC football is
Yes.
makes its way to the calendar. These are our Saturdays, and this is what they look like. But because we have a 16-month-old and he's not in like fall sports, but I know that those schedules even get crazy. And with 8 kids, I can't even imagine what your schedules look like. But when you look at it far enough out, then you can start to plan and you can say,
Right.
okay, it's not going to fall if we're having people, excuse me, if we're having people over on Thursday night, it's not all going to happen on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're
Right.
able to like, okay, we're having people over on Thursday in 2 weeks. Honey, I have this list of things that we have got to get done. And so then you're able to prepare a little bit more and plan in advance. I would also take the stress off of yourself. Jesus took fish and loaves from a little boy. You take food from other people and say,
Yeah.
hey, like I'm delegating this dish and this dish to you. And the more specific you are, the better off you will be. So, like, hey, I'm thinking about a strawberry poppy seed salad. Can you make that? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes. Thank you for giving me like the actual thing to make instead
Right.
of going down a rabbit hole. Do I do Caesar or do I do Asian or no,
Right.
give them something to make. And so I think that the more specific you can be, but also setting yourself up for success and starting with a plan always
Right.
works.
Right, right. Really, really helpful. And again, potluck it up, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that that's, something that we is a little old fashioned in our world or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's very powerful. And I think, for a lot of us who do want to gather and do value those relationships, it's the simplest way to go about it. It respects budget, it respects time. It's a really beautiful way to do it and takes a lot of the performance off, at least for me, takes a lot of
Oh,
the
for
performance
sure.
pressure off. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that my husband did that I thought was absolutely genius when we were really in the thick of it with kids and on and on and on, he kept wanting to have some kind of let's have the neighbors over type of thing.
Mm.
And in theory, Abby, I totally agreed with him. In practicum, I was just like, have you seen the hygienic state of the house? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not even talking,
Yeah.
any kind of just hospitality level. I'm just talking the day to day of potty training twins and on and on and on. And he arrived at an idea that I just wanted to pass along to the listener in the spirit of your new book about hospitality, Let the Biscuits Burn. He sent out a little flyer to everybody around our block and down this particular street and just had a coffee meetup in the front yard on a
Mm.
Saturday morning. Nobody came in the house. Thank the Lord. I mean, I was standing by like, well, is your tetanus shot updated before you come in the door? I was a little concerned, but nobody came in. Everybody was in proximity to their house. Very
Yeah.
easy, but it was so appreciated. And it was simple. It was a very simple thing. At some point he pulled out a grill, people went and got food and we just all kind of stood around and whatever. And it was a really lovely way, a good reminder to me that we could be the initiator and we could provide a front yard,
Yeah.
but it didn't have to be this whole other thing. The other thing too, I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about is hospitality offsite. And what I mean by
Mm.
that is, for example, my husband, again, the extrovert, he has tickets to our local MLS soccer team, Austin FC,
Yeah.
here in our town. And so he will very intentionally use that as a means of inviting people, very
Mm,
hospitable. And when they're
mm.
his guest at an event, he's very good about, let me go grab you a water, or can I get you a snack, or whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
people go in feeling cared for. It's not just sharing of a ticket. It's also, I'm here to be with you in this experience,
yeah,
and you're my guest and I want to be generous. So I think that there are those means too that don't actually even require the physical opening of our front door, but rather just the opening of our resources to be hospitable. Is that
for
something
sure.
that you think is a really easy and maybe a simpler way sometimes, depending on your season of life, what the house looks like, whatever, to
Yeah.
be able to remain in a spirit of hospitality?
I think that when it comes to resources over like your physical space, um, it's a great opportunity to build those initial relationships because you're not going to invite somebody for the first time into your house and then like start working on like heart issues and like going deep and emotional and spiritual. And sometimes bridging the gap between, hey, you're an acquaintance and hey, you're my bestie for the resty. Like
Right.
that bridge needs to be built. And so using your resources and doing it outside the home, I think is absolutely okay. The one thing that I really caution people about, and this is less of a like hazard and more of just like be mindful of, but when you are doing your quiet time, you don't do your quiet time in the middle of a football stadium on a Saturday game day. Like,
Right,
you
right.
do it in the quiet of your home, you do it in a reserved place, and so, as you think about how frequently am I going out versus coming in, how vulnerable and how authentic am I, like, I just be mindful that that balance, like, we need to hold tension there, and it is so great to come in, and I think that that's why Jesus didn't say, "Hey, Zacchaeus, let's have a conversation right here at the sycamore tree." He said, "No, I'm coming to your house. Like we are going
Right.
to someplace else." And so, but I do think that it is great to use your resources to build those connections and to bless other people. Because I think that when we share, we care. And that is something that shows, hey, you are important enough to me that I invited you to be a part of this. And like, I want to extend a piece of myself to you.
Right. And that even speaks to, I mean, I think we can be in a private home and we have made the menu so complex. We have made all the features of this hospitality event so complex that just as if we were at a football game with the crowd
Yeah.
going wild, we can be just as distracted. And that's one thing I have to remind myself when we have people over is that as much as I'm wanting to serve and delight people and let them have an experience they haven't had before or a dish they haven't tried or whatever, I will miss it if I make the project list so
Yeah,
complex that I
for
don't
sure.
have the opportunity to sit down and focus. I'm bad at it. I'm actually
Yeah.
very bad at it and I'm working on it. But I think that just because something's in a private home, we still need to have that awareness that we can distract ourselves away from what the point is, which is
Yeah.
creating that depth in relationship with
Well,
others.
and one of the things that I always try to remind people when they're like, I don't understand how you can have it already when everybody walks in. I don't understand how you're not still in the kitchen when you enter, when open the door, whatever." And it's because I tell myself that if I told people that they're coming over at 6, I tell myself they'll be there at 5:30.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
even if they're 10 or 15 minutes early, I am done. And
right,
I'm able, like, we can always reheat things. Like, there
right,
is a microwave, and that is
right,
okay to
right,
use.
right,
And like, and I want to make sure that when people come into my home, I don't open the door and immediately say, "Hey, rolls are in the oven. Let me go get them before they burn." Like, I
right,
want to be present with you. I want to be here with you. And so, in order for me to do that, I have to plan ahead to be ready ahead of time so that I can be more present with my people.
right.
And just like I was talking about earlier, like the honeydew list of like, "Hey, can you please blow off the front porch?" Or "Can
Yeah,
you please like help me just make sure that John Maverick, our son, like his toys are just picked up," because it is a and like rotating door.
Of
Like
course, of course.
pick them up, they come
Yep,
out,
they come
pick them
out.
up.
It's amazing.
Exactly. And so, like, I just think that, when you have that kind of teamwork and that mindset of like, let's do this ahead of time so that in the moment we're not distracted. Um, but it takes effort and it takes time to build that muscle. And
Right.
so the first time you do it, the 10th time you do it, you might not get it right. And that's okay.
Mhm.
And you might get it right one day and you might not get it right the next day. And that's where we can hold grace and we can just say, you know what? I can do better. There is opportunity for improvement and we will move forward.
I love though, Abby, that that clears away sometimes a place where I think can be a place of yeah, unfortunately conflict when you're trying to co-host something with your spouse or
Yeah,
whatever.
for sure.
If the goal becomes I want to truly be able to be present, then it's not so much about why do you think everything has to be perfect or why, why, I mean, whatever those conversations become,
Yeah.
because we've all had them right before the door opens and you're like sniping at each other. But how do we get to that place where the motive is, hey, if we can get planned enough, keep it simple enough, streamline it enough, what that allows us to then do is really focus.
Yeah.
That I think helps, even if somebody does have a little bit more of a perfectionistic bent and somebody has a more casual bent or whatever, that
Yeah.
clears the decks a little bit more on why we want to have that preparation and things ready and think a little bit ahead of time so that we can focus on the people, which is the whole
Yeah.
point. So,
Well, if you identify and share this with your husband, share this with, your roommate or whoever you're hosting with, because, I there are times I'll give you an example. I was hosting a baby shower with a group of women. We all come from very different backgrounds and we had never hosted a baby shower together. So we had very different expectations of what
yeah,
our roles would be, what the budget would be. And I'm a real big expectation setter, and so I tried to have the conversation at the beginning and it fell flat. And so we get into it and I'm thinking we're doing one thing, someone else is thinking we're doing another, and it's just wires are being crossed and they're like, "What are you doing?" And so we just kind of had to come together and have a little heart to heart and
right,
say, "Hey, this is my expectation and I do this because like this is how I show love and this is like I want the details to be there because I want when she walks in, I want her to feel loved and seen and known and cared for."
right.
And sometimes my husband doesn't understand that. He is a man. He is from Mars and like I like how are we in the same room together? You what? But then I share with him, "Hey, the purpose of blowing off the front porch or the purpose of like cleaning our bathrooms today, I know that they were cleaned this week, but cleaning them today, like that gives me peace of mind that I don't have to stress about that. Like I
Yeah.
want to focus on," and he's like, "Oh, if it was dirty, I still would have focused on my people." And I'm like,
Mm.
"I get that you would have,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I would not have. And it
Right.
would have been a stressor for me." And then he's able to show me grace and to say, "Oh, I want to let you see that you are seen and known and loved. And I want to love you by doing this." So, like, by bringing your husband in, by bringing your friends into these conversations of like, this is why I want to do this, or this is why I'm doing it, then it puts words and it puts power and meaning and responsibility into the why behind hospitality and why you care about these people. And it might even help them see more of God's beauty in hospitality.
I love that, Abby. I mean, bravo. Such a beautiful way to put that. I want the listener to know where they can go to find the book, find you on
Yeah.
social, all the places.
Yeah, so I'm over at Abby.Kuykendall. I'm sure you're gonna have that down below in the show notes or
Of
somewhere.
course. Yep.
And the book is everywhere books are sold. There's also an audiobook that I got to that I got to record, which is
Whoop,
so
whoop.
fun. So if you liked
Yes.
my voice today, make sure you download it. No, but in all honesty, I started a text thread. My publisher was like, "Hey, you should start like a group chat or a Facebook group, and that just seemed so overwhelming to me. So why not start a text group? You've always got your phone, and so it's just kind of like a one-on-one text. So like if you text me, I can text you back, kind of thing. But that number is 501-833 6045. 501-833-6045. You can text the word biscuits and I will text you right back. Maybe not like immediately back, but I will text back. And I periodically just like put in like little nuggets of inspiration, or, hey, I'm going to be in Frisco, Texas today. Would love to, or this week, would love to see you. And just kind of like musings of me. And like, I think I have like 300 people on that text thread right now. And it's just so fun to connect with people all over. I say the world because 2 people are in it from London,
Hey, then it's
but
legit.
that will count. And so
Yeah.
like, I just kind of try to, connect with people that way. And it has been, in a time and a day and an era where we're all just trying to consume less on social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that we still have our phones though. So you
Yeah.
can still text me, and it's been a fun way to connect. So do that. Find me on Instagram, read the book, listen to the book. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Oh, that is so great. I love the text idea. That's so fun. Well, Abby
Yeah,
Kuykendall, thank you so much for being with me today. I know you've got a ton going on with the book having just been released and all the
it's
things
fun.
going on at the house and the baby and on and on. So thank you for your transparency, the way you show
Absolutely.
up, and for such encouragement. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, Julie. Bye.
All right, friend, you know what to do. Go to those show notes that Abby mentioned because she is absolutely right. Rebecca will have all those links and the text number for you. You can find it there. I love to hang out with you too. Usually on Instagram is where you'll find me, Julie Lyles Carr. And AllMomDoes is also on the socials with a whole lot of great stuff for you to check out when it comes to community, ideas, all the things. So be sure and find our great community with AllMomDoes. Grab this link, send it to a friend, because that is one of the greatest thank yous you can give us when you share these interviews and the amazing guests that we're able to have on. And I will see you next time here at the AllMomDoes podcast.